to the track, the wall, makes the leap, and makes the catch! Amazing catch by Junior!
He got it! A perfect game! 13 strikeouts!
And Bonds hits one high! It's a deep! It is out of here! 7:56!
What a special moment for Barry Bonds!
Swinging a long drive, deep to right, going, goodbye! He has done it! He has changed the game of the night with one swing of his bat!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Champions Adjust podcast. This is episode number 16 of season 2 of the Champions Adjust podcast. I am your co-host Aaron Mashpitz, aka Jaxon Stone, with my amazing resident expert podcast legend, Coach David Bodzin.
Woo! What's up, man?
How are you feeling today, Coach
am
Bodzin?
2 sips into Eli Hall's Celsius. He got me a couple days ago at scrimmage, and I am feeling fine as wine and dandelion. Doesn't make sense to me either, but here we are.
Whoa. Coach Bodzin on a wave, got his Arizona baseball t-shirt on. You can see it if you're watching on YouTube.
I can tell you with certainty that the most depressing time of the year for me is the first couple weeks after baseball season ends.
Well, listen, there's 142 days until opening day.
I'm pissed about
142
Too long.
At least by today, which is Election Day, November 8th. We are 142 days away from opening day.
Happy
So
Democracy
luckily, when
Day.
you hear this and the episode drops, it'll be like 139 days away.
To all of our listeners, I hope your candidate wins. Election day.
Well, I hope you at least voted and participated in democracy, because that's what it's about. And
Sure.
if you care about the trajectory of our country and the people in it, then your vote matters and it counts.
Yeah.
Whatever you believe in doesn't matter.
We can talk about this, but it's not going to air until after it's too late.
But the election will happen, so they'll be out and something will have happened.
I got a bottle of red wine and the news queued up on my TV.
Here we go.
Here we go.
But this podcast is not about that. It is about the most incredible thing in the world, baseball. And
Meatball.
Coach Bodzin was correct. The Houston Astros defeated the Philadelphia Phillies in 6 baseball games to win the 2022 World Series. Congrats to the Houston Astros.
Congrats to the Houston Astros. Got a lot of family. Alan Frooks, my uncle, who listens to every episode. Congratulations to you. Your team did it. Their first legitimate championship. You gotta love it, baby.
Gotta love it, baby.
Woo!
Yeah, that's cool though.
It is
That's
cool,
really
man.
cool.
Watching Dusty Baker celebrate was so. You know what pissed me off actually was, Lance McCullers got shelled.
Yeah,
Shelled.
He got crushed.
And everybody's digging on him because he was giving a speech afterwards. He was basically like, no, we went into this city and we won. And then we went to Philly. We rang that bell, won the championship. And it was like, dude, you give up 5 home runs in a game. Why are you giving a speech? And it's one of those, tell me you've never been on a team with a leader who doesn't perform up to all the standards without telling me. Like, he's a leader in that clubhouse. Right. That's why he's giving the speech. Right. Doesn't have to have a good performance to be a de facto leader of the team, which is what he was. It was so much fun to watch him do that. And then I see all these people like, oh, why is Lance McCullers talking? He sucked. Well, because he's part of the team. He's been hurt all year. He worked his ass off, and he's a leader in the clubhouse. That's why. And if you think that teams can win World Series without leaders in the clubhouse, you're wrong. You're
Chemistry,
wrong.
culture, leadership, communication, accountability. All of these things are the intangibles. Every Major League Baseball team has talent.
Right.
Like, I don't know how many times we have to say that.
Look at the Mets, man. Mets and the Dodgers are the most talented in the baseball.
Everyone is good at baseball. They're in the major leagues.
None of that. But the Astros get booed everywhere they go. It is so hard to stick together as a team when you are constantly getting booed. Mm-hmm. And when they went to Philly, they couldn't get catered. Philly restaurants are like, no, you're with the Astros. We're not going to feed you.
Yeah.
People walk into a bar with a Astros hat. And you hear the story? They're like, hey, I'm going to buy a shot for everybody around here. Everybody's cheering except for that guy with an Astros hat. He has to pay for his own. It's like, man, that's shitty.
It's ridiculous.
That's just taking it a little bit too far to me. So I am fired up. Go ahead.
And it's so interesting coming from a Philadelphia standpoint, where in that city they live and die by their teams. They're one of those faithful fan groups. No matter what sport, whether it be the Eagles, the Flyers, the Phillies, right? I think I got the Flyers right there.
The Flyers, yep.
And so you would think that a city like that is very passionate about their sports teams would understand the passion that a Houston Astros sports fan would have, right? Because yes, there was some stuff that happened with the previous World Series win from the Astros, but the fans stuck with them, right? The fans stayed with them, and I feel like a Philadelphia Phillies fan would appreciate that.
Of course.
But I guess I was wrong.
And then the thing about the Astros, too, you can't deny what happened in 2017, right? Like, you were well within your right as a baseball fan to let that affect your opinion of that team. Of that team, 2017.
Specific team.
Carlos Correa, Springer, Bregman, Altuve, Beltran, that team, Hinch, those guys did it.
Yes.
And you can have whatever opinion. I can't tell you, hey, you can't have your opinion of that. But this team, 2022, there was only one proven cheater from that 2017 team, Alex Bregman, who apologized. Whether you believe his apology or not, that's really not up to us.
Right.
Was it left on that team?
Right.
Plus, Dusty Baker, who was brought in to manage the team right afterwards. He was brought in right after Hinch to say, hey, good luck. 2018 Astros on. They're your team, and good luck. You're going to get stuff thrown at you, booed. I mean, you got Kyle Tucker. The funniest thing to me was Michael Brantley, who's hurt all year. People boo him and think that he was part of the 17 team, but he came in 18.
Right.
Like, oh, you're a cheater. Guys, he wasn't a part of that team.
And neither was Junior
Kyle Tucker, Jordan Alvarez, who was traded for a 38-year-old reliever in 2018.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a throwaway. But
Verlander wasn't part of that team.
Yes, he was.
Was he? Oh, he was part of that team. Excuse me. But they had a really good team last year when they lost to the Braves.
They did.
Too.
They had a really good team the year before that when they lost to the Nationals.
That's why they've been the World Series like 4 out of 6 years or something. Like, come on.
They are the closest thing you have to a dynasty in baseball that you can get right now. And as a baseball fan, I decided last year, and we talked about it on this podcast, I can no longer hold the grudge against this Astros team because they're such a fun franchise to follow from a baseball perspective.
Right.
Whether you love them or hate them, it's still you have an opinion about them because of what they've been able to do from the ground up. And that's one of those things. They have a great franchise because they tank so many years.
Right.
But any fan will tell you it was worth it. Yeah, we watched this team lose considerably more than they won for like 5 or 6 years in a row.
Long time.
But now they've won 2 rings in 5 years. They've gone to the World Series almost every year in between. They're just such a freaking good franchise. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
And to your point, all or nothing fans you support, like the Phillies, you would think that
They would respect that.
And you know what made me happy? Because I'm a Cowboys fan. I don't really like Philly fans anyway. Arguably the worst day in Philadelphia sports history. Because earlier that day, the Philadelphia Union lost the MLS Cup in penalty kicks to LA.
Oh, no.
In penalty
The cup?
kicks.
The
championship.
Oh, wow.
Philadelphia Union on Saturday of this past weekend lost the MLS championship to LAFC in penalty kicks, which means that after extra time, they were still tied. A goal in the 4th minute to tie. I mean, it was bizarre. It was bizarre because it's all in aggregate too. So it was a bizarre. LAFC tied the game in the final minute of extra time to force penalties, and then beat Philly. And then like 7 hours later,
the Phillies lose.
Kyle Schwarber's bunting on 2 strikes, and the Phillies lose.
Sheesh.
You know what's funny to me is nobody talked about that. Who knows if that was a called play? Who knows why they did it? But I haven't seen one interview asking them or them interviewing or answering why they would do that.
First question is,
why are you pulling Wheeler?
Why are you pulling Wheeler?
Yeah.
He's the best pitcher on your team, and it's
72 pitches in.
And it's not even close that he's the best pitcher on your team.
Dribblers and pop flies all game.
Like if your next option was Nola, he's the next closest guy. But he was,
which is why it was interesting to me that Nola started game 1.
It pulled him too early too.
Right.
And so you're pulling your 2 best pitchers and relying on a bullpen that's been good in the postseason, obviously. That's why
But
you make
not
it to the
good
World
before the
Series.
postseason.
But very unreliable in the regular season.
Sure.
So what are you banking on, right? It went really well in Game 1. That's why they won Game 1, because they gave up like 0 runs in like 5 innings.
Right.
But you can't expect that every time. And when Wheeler's throwing the best game he had in a while with 72 pitches,
He's been off and on the injured reserve all year.
72 pitches is like first and third, 1 out.
So then that begs the question: did he say something?
No.
I mean, we don't know.
We don't. But he was on a 90 pitch count. He's not even close to 90
No,
pitches yet.
yeah, 18 pitches. I think
That's
he can get
a
through
lot.
that inning. He can
That's
get through
a
that
lot.
inning.
That's a lot of pitches.
Maybe partially through the next inning too. Alvarado had been flat the last couple outings. Bad move. And then you got 2 strikes and your second best hitter on the team, home run leader in the National League. 2 strikes.
2 strikes.
You got a pitch up at the letters that he might take out, but he bunts it backwards instead.
hit over 50 home runs, including the postseason.
Including the postseason, yeah. And what happens when you foul off a bunt on 2 strikes?
You're out.
You're out. It's a strikeout. And you're just giving it out away, which is like Grisham did the same thing for the Phillies when you had 1 out and they bunted over the winning run or the go-ahead run to second base, but it gave up an out and now you only have 1 out to work with.
Yeah.
In the NLCS, like why the fudge are you bunting there?
And of course you can say like, well, what if Schwarber gets a hit there? Like, what if it works out? What if Alvarado gets him out? Like, of course you can say those what ifs.
Listen, everybody is a absolute fucking genius in hindsight.
Right.
Everybody is.
The best.
You're never wrong in hindsight because you know what happened.
But we're just...
Was it a good move? I'll tell you what, one of my best friends, Zach Monash, when they pulled Wheeler, as Alvarado was walking to the mound, Monash texted me, the series just ended. It was a terrible baseball move, the series just ended. I said, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, well, give it a second. Alvarado, lefty on lefty. Alvarado's had a pretty good season. Like, let's see what happens. He goes, no, this is a bad move. You don't go lefty against Alvarez. This is a bad decision, and the series is over now.
Yep.
And on the 3rd pitch of that at bat, 450-foot piss on it, straight away center field.
Absolute
to essentially win the World Series. And I texted Mona. I was like, all right, you were right, because I know.
I was when the game was going on Saturday night, I was at a professional wrestling show because I was doing a live episode of my podcast for the first time ever, which was really cool.
That's really cool.
And so I was preparing for it. I did not wrestle. I was watching the game on my phone. I put my phone down to talk to someone, and the next second, the ball went over the fence. So I missed the pitching change and the bomb very quickly. And I was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And then I looked at the box score, home run, all these stuff, and I put my phone down for 5 minutes. But that's what happened. Astros win the World Series. And that's where we're at. So in the rest of today's episode, we're going to we did a recap. We might recap a little bit more. We're going to do some awards predictions, and if anything else comes to our brain, we'll mention it.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Any other recap you want to do?
No, man. I'm just excited for Dusty Baker.
Dusty Baker, yeah.
What a legend. Finally got his World Series. Sorry to your dad.
My guy Barry Bonds posted about Dusty Baker. Pumped about it.
Dude.
For him.
Heck yeah.
We love to see it.
And he's working on a contract extension today. They're gonna
with the Astros?
Yeah.
Great.
I know had they not won the World Series, he wasn't going to stay.
Well, keep Dusty in there, baby.
Yeah, man. He's such a great baseball guy.
Somebody
pointed this out today. I saw it on Instagram. What's the last thing Dusty Baker did before celebrating? There was a pop fly to Kyle Tucker. He knew he was going to be an out. And before he celebrated, he marked it in his notebook. He had just won the World Series, and he still marked it in his notebook before he...
not an easy play, though, that Kyle made.
No, but my God, the adrenaline. I saw the jump, and immediately, all right, this is over.
Yeah.
I was just shocked by his closing speed.
Right.
Like, my God. But he just won a World Series. It doesn't matter what that play is. Like, just throw your book away and just go get drunk. Go party.
Well, he's going to look at that.
And he just, okay, now let's celebrate.
Yeah. The work's got to get finished first. But, all right, so let's do some awards predictions.
Let's do it.
In the next coming weeks, about a week after this episode comes out, they're going to announce the awards. So on Monday, November 14th, we have the Jackie Robinson Rookie of the Year. Tuesday, November 15th, we have the Manager of the Year. Wednesday, November 16th, we have the Cy Young. And Thursday, November 17th, we have the Most Valuable Player.
Let's
and
go down
on those days, that's for both leagues. And so, where do you want to start?
Let's start with Rookie of the Years, because let's go down the list. Mondays.
Rookie of the Year.
What do you got?
Well, in the AL, I have Julio Rodriguez.
Sure.
For sure. Also, watching him in the home run derby was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
It's fun. It was really cool to watch him with Albert Pujols.
I mean, I just love how everyone interacted with Albert at the home run derby. Mm-hmm. And no one expected him to get out of the first round. He did.
Sure.
Yeah. That's funny, though. It's like, what's happening there, right? Because those guys can hit, 15 bombs in a row. They do it in batting practice all the time. And then all of a sudden, Schwarber, who can hit a 500-foot ball in a real game, hits like 2 dribblers.
It happens, man. It happens.
It does happen.
A-Rod was never good in the home run derby.
Yeah, most of these guys who are really good hitters are just line drive guys.
Yes,
and they just get enough pop and backswing.
Sometimes this is the second year in a row. Actually, Juan Soto did it last year. That a player went to the home run derby to fix their swing because they wanted to hit more home runs. Oh. A lot of guys don't do it because they're like, I don't want to ruin my swing. Right. I don't want to try to home runs. But last year Soto, and this year Albert Pujols is like, I don't know what's going on with my swing. I'm going to go to the home run derby just so I can get more batting practice and fix my swing, and it did. And then look at Albert Pujols.
Helped Albert. Didn't really help Soto.
He's my MVP National League guy. So
whatever.
That's spoiler.
And in the National League, I think I want to go with Spencer Strider.
Oh, really? Okay, let's go with that. Talk about why.
I just think he made the most impact on his team, and I think that matters when it comes to Rookie of the Year. He was a valuable piece for that squad, especially down the stretch, and so I think it would be cool. But I mean, the other 2 candidates are Brendan Donovan and Michael Harris.
Yeah.
So I know who you're going to pick.
Do you?
Well, I assume you're going to pick the Cardinal.
All right, so American League Rookie of the Year, Julio Rodriguez, man, led Seattle to his first playoff appearance in 21 years with Scott Service. Check this. He hit 284 with 28 home runs, and he was phenomenal in the outfield.
He had over 20 bags stolen, too.
25 stolen bases, and he doesn't consider himself a fast guy. He just has really good jumps. He knows how to read the pitchers really well. One of 3 rookies to ever hit 25 home runs and 25 stolen bases in the same year. The last was Mike Trout in 2012.
Mike Trout's pretty good.
He's okay. National League Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Michael Harris.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So not only was he stellar defensively, and he led all National League rookies with a 5.3 WAR. He's 21 years old, man. What he was able to do at 21 years old was insane. He hit almost 300 on the season his rookie year.
Yeah.
19 home runs, 20 stolen bags, and at a 135 OPS. I think he had the most impact of anybody else. So he was just phenomenal in center field. My runner-up is my boy Brendan Donovan. Mostly because Brendan Donovan hit 281 in his rookie year with almost a 400 on-base percentage. And his rookie year won a Gold Glove as a utility player. He played every position except for catcher this year.
Wow.
I don't think he pitched either, but he started several games at first. Started several games in the middle infield, started several games in left, and during the postseason, he was constantly there in left or right field.
Yeah.
And he played a little bit in center too, and won a Gold Glove for his rookie year. So yeah, I think that deserves my my honorable mention. But yeah, Michael Harris, the second man. He had a phenomenal. I think he's going to be the runaway Rookie of the Year, personally. But you think it's going to be Strider. And I can say that he's probably going to be number 2.
Yeah.
I'm just giving Donovan props because holy shit, he got a Gold Glove for his rookie year.
Donovan. Those who are in youth baseball currently and listening to this podcast and looking at a guy like Brendan Donovan, who has made himself so valuable that they can't take him out of the lineup.
Play every position.
And he can play every position. And if he can do that at the major league level and get it done very well at a high level, then you as a youth baseball player, 11, 12, 13, 14, can do it and be okay with it and accept it and create value there for yourself and your team especially.
Right.
And so if you're a shortstop, that means you're athletic enough to play every position on the field outside of catcher, because that's a little more specialized and you can't just throw yourself back there. It's too dangerous. But that is very important, especially when you get on these teams and go to these schools where everyone is really good. Would you rather sit on the bench and be second on the depth chart because you really just want to play shortstop? Right. Or would you rather play left, right, center,
our guys,
third, first, right?
Got an outfield mitt because they knew they needed to play outfield.
So just you're making yourself the most valuable, right? You always want to hit. Because if you can hit, there's always a spot for you in the lineup. That's just a guarantee. Same if you're a pitcher, but that's less frequently that you play. So having a variety of positions that you can dominate at is very, very important. Okay, next one. We're in the manager of the year.
Who you got in the American League? Manager
of the year, we got Francona for the Guardians, Brandon Hyde and the Orioles, and Scott Service for the Mariners. I'm going back and forth between Brandon Hyde and Scott Service.
Okay.
I think what happened with the Orioles was amazing. I know they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, they almost did.
But they were one of the worst teams in baseball last year, if not the worst team in baseball. And you don't have a turnaround type season like that without someone leading from the top.
Not only that, but they fire sold all their best players, and they still were winning.
Right.
They were still winning.
Right.
It was actually a tough decision. The worst team in baseball came in deciding they were going to fire sell all their players, but then they kept on winning. And they're like, okay, what do we do now? Well, they still sold, and they still won. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, okay. Like when they traded Trey Mancini, I think we talked about that. I was like, why?
Right.
You are so close to competing here. Mm-hmm. Why? I think they probably looked at it and they saw who was, down the stretch, the Blue Jays and the Mariners and the Yankees. And they're like, we're probably not making the playoffs. Let's get it done.
And their guys just kept competing and competing.
What did was really impressive. And it's really hard to do. It's arguably harder to win when you have nothing to play for than it is to win when you have something to play for.
Sure.
No, because hey, we're selling everybody on the team. Like we don't hey, we have 8 new guys who are from AAA because we don't believe you guys are going to win. But hey, let's keep on trying to compete.
Right.
And it's very hard to get grown men to
do
get
that.
out of bed for that.
Right.
Yeah.
My vote's Brandon Hyde. Other 2 managers, Francona and Scott Service, obviously did an incredible job with their squads this year. We know that Francona is already a Hall of Fame manager,
yes.
So it's not a surprise that he did what he did with the Guardians. Scott Service and the Mariners were very good last year, so there was an expectation for them to be good this year. Mm-hmm. They went out and got a lot of players too, so he did it. He's done a great job there, but I give the nod to Brandon Hyde and the Orioles for putting together that type of season. And then I don't really know in the National League. Like all these managers seem the same to me. In terms of Roberts, Showalter, and Snicker, like they all have good teams.
It's not Snicker, man.
It's not him. Like the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Braves all were predicted to be very good this year. It's not a surprise that any of the teams made the playoffs. I don't think the coaches had a lot to do with it. Right? They just have stacked rosters, and at that point, the coach is not doing anything.
Right.
We see how the coach can make decisions late in games into the World Series.
Right. I'm more impressed with Ollie Normal, who is a 35-year-old manager who.
But that's more impressive,
to a division
right?
Championship. Yeah, I would have voted for him there.
So I don't really know in the National League, and
it seems like you don't really care.
And I don't really care because I don't see yes, they're obviously good managers.
That's my notes for this versus notes for that.
That's not what I'm saying. They're obviously good managers, but it's not that impressive to take a team that's amazing and make them and put them and get them to the playoffs. Yes. And clearly, you couldn't do that much because you didn't do what you should have done.
Right.
And I know Manager of the Year has nothing to do with the postseason.
No.
It doesn't have anything to do with the postseason, but that goes into my brain when thinking about how you coach a game, how you create leadership, how you create culture, how you play in pressure situations, how you amp up your team. All of those things are very important. And so I'll just go with Buck Showalter. Sure. Sounds good.
You need a very detailed reason as to why.
Yeah, sure, Buck. You seem cool.
Yeah, you seem cool. I'm gonna go with American League Scott Service. Not only is this his second consecutive 90-plus win season, and not only did he lead the Mariners to their first postseason since 2001, which was the longest drought in all of them 4 major sports.
Yeah, since Ichiro was on the team.
Yeah, jeez. But consider this. Scott Service has never managed before the Mariners. It was his first manager job. He was, when I knew him, director of player personnel and development for the Rangers. He had a uniform on, but he was a front office guy.
Right.
Then he got hired as the assistant general manager of the Los Angeles Angels. I saw him scouting games in Tucson. And now he was the assistant general manager. And then out of nowhere, they're like, hey, we're naming Scott Service, who's currently a front office guy, as the manager of a team. And I remember thinking, what the fuck are you guys doing? Why are you putting a front office guy who knows player development but to this point has never proven he can run a baseball game and run a clubhouse. And you're going to put him in the middle of this in a rebuild? And now he's won consecutive 90-win seasons.
Yep.
Last year being more impressive this year.
Yep.
But still going to the postseason this year.
Right.
And arguably being the closest team to beat the Astros. They got swept, but they were the closest team to beating the Astros.
That was a great series.
That was a great series.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, hats off to Scott Service, man. He knows how to manage, and he deserves Manager of the Year to me.
I love.
Brandon Hyde's my backup, and we already talked about why he did not have the talent. He even had less talent. He still got grown men who weren't getting paid a ton of money either. Like those guys are a lot of those guys are minimum contract guys. Come and
to get motivated and to show up
and show up and do it. That's hard. National League Manager of the Year. I'm giving Buck Showalter. 101 wins in the season, second most wins in franchise history.
I mean, that's cool.
I mean, he almost pissed away the season anyway, but
he blew it in September.
Always met, but that's what I'll go with. I'm not going Snicker because their team got better talent-wise, but didn't do as much with it.
Right.
And so and Dave Roberts is just the ultimate. Are you winning because of or in spite of the manager? No, you don't know with him.
Because he's had a good team for a long time.
It's incredible. Buck Showalter. But I'm very passionate. We're both very passionate about the American League, and you don't know what's going to give a shit less about the National League. So.
Well, it just doesn't make sense. Those three guys don't make sense.
And I'm going to tell you right now, all I marvel to me, as biased as I am, watching a 35-year-old manager who was a bench coach take over for a team that just won the postseason, that is the last year of our Pujols, the last year of Yadier Molina. You have no idea what's going on in their bullpen. You have no idea what's going on in your rotation. You have a bunch of youth on your team, and you go and win division by more than 5 games. That is so impressive to me. He should be manager of the year nationally.
Yeah. Cy Young. I think it's Justin Verlander.
Sure.
In the American League. I think
National League's tougher. But
National League, I think is a lot tougher, but I'm biased because I watched Sandy Alcantara pitch in Miami with some of the boys on our team when we went out there for our tournament, and watching him live, and we sat in the in the box right behind home plate, so you could see a lot of the movement on his fastball.
Is that Paige Farragut or Paige Jackson move? Did you get the
No, it was Chase's dad, Mr. Robbins.
Oh, word.
Yeah, he hooked it up. It was awesome. So shout out to you. Thank you for doing that. But sitting behind kind of home plate, watching him work, watching his ball move, basically being able to see the speed of every pitch, all of that stuff, and then him put together this body of work in this season that he had was incredible. So all of that, I would like to see him win it. Being able to see him pitch live, It was fucking sweet. He's cool. Marlins aren't great, but
he was a shining spot.
He was a huge shining spot for them.
He was a Cardinal. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, he was a Cardinal, and they traded him for Marcell Ozuna.
Well, that's all right. So my pick is Verlander and then Alcantara.
I'm going to go with Verlander. 18-4, man. This dude, and that's not even the funny part. The fact that he had a sub 1.8 ERA at 39 years old, coming off Tommy John surgery.
Yep.
He's the American League Comeback Player of the Year, without question. He's about to win his 3rd Cy Young Award. One of 3 pitchers to ever do it.
He's a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer. He comes back after, and I think he was my questionable move of the offseason.
We did talk about that a lot.
Like, what the hell are you guys doing giving $25 million to a guy who hasn't thrown a pitch?
He heard that pod.
He must have. You're welcome.
Justin.
And Ben Verlander. We should tag Ben Verlander.
We love Ben.
I love Ben. I love it. And the coolest thing to me in the postseason was him interviewing his brother.
Yep.
And him celebrating with his brother.
Ben does really, really good baseball work.
Yes.
Like really good coverage of MLB if you don't follow Ben.
This is Justin Verlander's kid brother. And they're really close.
And regardless if Justin was his brother or not, I think he would still be where he's at because he just does really good. He does really good work.
You know, man, I see that sometimes on like the Twitter and the social media. It's like, oh, you're only there because of what your brother has done. Like, no, this guy is one of the hardest working dudes.
I see him put out content, and he's grinding, and he has a podcast, and he knows the players and the personnel. Obviously, he understands the game because him and Justin grew up doing it. So it's cool. So shout out to Ben. And then who you got in the National League?
I got Sandy Alcantara. Did not know this. until I did my research today. Not only were his 6 complete games the most of any pitcher in baseball since 2016 with Chris Sale, because we're in a new age where guys will go 5, 6, 7 innings. But his 6 complete games this year were more than any other team in baseball this year. He had more complete games on his own than any other team did across their staff.
Like combined staffs, yeah.
For the whole year.
Incredible.
14-9, which I don't give a shit about because he pitched for the Miami Marlins.
Yeah.
Terrible team. He had a 2.28 ERA, which is even more impressive when you look at the fact that he had an MLB high 228 and 2/3 innings. The dude threw considerably more innings than anybody else in baseball and still had a sub 2.3 ERA. He had pitched in 7 or more innings in 13 consecutive starts between May and July, including the start that you saw.
That's what I saw him at, yep.
Which is the longest streak of any pitcher since 2014.
Incredible.
And he was good while he did it.
Yep.
Julio Urias is my other shout out. 17-7. Don't really care. You're playing for a 111 win team.
Of course, you have a lot of wins.
But he still struck out 166 guys. He had a 2.16 ERA, best ERA in the National League. But you can't take away from Sandy Alcantara did.
I mean, I remember when Felix Hernandez won a Cy Young and he had a losing record.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. I remember that.
But he was
14 or something.
But he was the best pitcher in the league.
Good. Yes.
And that's when the Mariners were quite bad. Imagine if the Mariners had Felix now with this team.
He was at that 18 inning game. It was so much fun to see.
Yeah, that guy
was come out of retirement because
I'm sure he could still
run out of pitchers.
He would still have all of this action, dude. He was a pitcher. That dude can pitch.
That kind of stuff, yeah.
Great.
MVP,
most valuable player.
The very controversial American League MVP award.
Yeah.
2 very strong contenders.
Yeah, I think Alvarez is out.
Alvarez is out. He's the 3rd best hitter in baseball. He's out.
He had an amazing season. Kudos to him.
Because if he's in the National League, he's a runaway winner.
He crushed it. He had a fantastic year, but he's not even coming close to winning this American League MVP.
No.
Man, it's really tough.
I know.
It's really tough, and I'm glad I'm not the one who has to actually make the decision.
It's a shitty reason, but it's a very simple reason. But who do you got first?
I don't, Shohei Ohtani is it doesn't happen, man.
Arguments. There's so many arguments on both sides here.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
He is a top pitcher.
He's a top hitter.
He's a top hitter. He drives and runs. He has stolen bases. He has home runs.
34 home runs with 11 stolen bases and 95 RBIs. Was also 15-9 with a 2.33 ERA.
2.33.
219 strikeouts.
And then his team was terrible.
His team was so bad.
They're really bad.
Oh my God, are they bad? And they were coming out yesterday. Oh, we're not trading him. Why?
And then Aaron Judge puts together one of the best offensive seasons since 2001 Barry Bonds.
And here's the thing about him. Yes, he hit 62 home runs. Yes, that is the most of all time ever in the American League. Yes, people like to say, oh, he did it clean. I don't care about that argument at all. He broke the American League home run record held by Roger Maris with 62 home runs. While leading the American League in home runs, obviously 62, leading the American League in RBIs, 131, and being second by 2 points.
Very, very close.
In batting average with batted 311 on the season. What? That is bizarre and is so unfair, in my opinion, to Shohei Ohtani, who is doing things that nobody's ever done in baseball, because Aaron Judge just had one of the best seasons ever. My dog just trying to get in.
And it's funny because people will say that, no one's ever done what Aaron Judge has done before. That's wrong. They've done it before. Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, people like this have done this before.
Right.
You might say steroids, no steroids, it's different, whatever. That's a different argument for a different day, but people have done what Aaron Judge has done before. He's just the first person to do it in a really long time. Sure. No one on planet Earth to exist in the modern era has ever even come close to doing what Shohei Ohtani has done the past 2 seasons. And if he never does it again, he still did it for 2 straight seasons, and that's still incredible.
That's the tough thing is that it's almost like he's overlooked. Everybody's taking this for granted. And it's not even a question. People are taking Shohei Ohtani for granted. Nobody does what he's done.
No,
it's not a
thing.
He
had over 200 strikeouts and he hit 30 home runs.
Sub 2.35 ERA, 34 home runs.
I can't just neglect that. I can't neglect that.
That was really bad.
And so, but you're looking at valuable.
I don't like that argument.
I don't either.
I don't like that
because
argument.
I think
Alex Rodriguez won the 2002 MVP, I think, or 2003, I think, and they were terrible.
So I just can't. I can't not vote Shohei Ohtani. I can't do it.
You're going to show. Okay.
I can't.
Fair. I respect that, and I respect it.
I cannot do it.
I'm here to say who I think's going to win, not who I should.
That's my vote. If I was voting, Ohtani would get my vote.
Because what he's able to do in his career deserves to be the MVP of the league, bar none, for the next 20 years, just because of what he's been able to do. However, Aaron Judge will win because of what he was able to do and help his team get to where they were.
Sure.
He will win.
Sure.
But it's going to be close, and there's going to be people talking about it for the next 5 years.
Great, they should.
And they should. National League MVP.
I mean, every year in the American League, until Shohei decides to stop doing what he's doing, there's going to be this debate if someone puts together this good of a year.
Sure, and they shouldn't. Here's a cool thing about our predictions before the year. I don't remember who you said, but I said Mike Trout and Nolan Arenado. And Nolan Arenado is a top 3 finalist for MVP.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Knew something, but I'll have him in my top 2. So.
I got Goldschmidt winning it.
Me too.
I got Goldschmidt winning it. I think Machado put together an amazing year. It's really cool to see him become the leader of that Padres team because he's kind of been like a little jokey because he got into the league when he was really young.
Yes.
And he was really good, really
good.
Like he's obviously amazing at baseball.
Yes.
And he's been amazing at baseball since he was like 12.
Yep.
So it's nice to see him mature and transform and become and stay a really good baseball player, but also be a leader for other guys, for his team, for his squad, for other young players. And so I like Manny Machado, man. But he's not the MVP of the league. I think it's Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah, I agree. I think Manny Machado, a lot of people were saying that Manny should win, but they were looking at what he was doing in the postseason, which doesn't matter because this is not a postseason award. He had 298 to Paul Goldschmidt's 317. He had 32 home runs to Paul Goldschmidt's 35 home runs. He hit 102 RBIs to Paul Goldschmidt's 115 RBIs, but he did lead the National League in WAR, but he was only 0.3 ahead of Goldie.
So
he had 7.4, and Goldie had 7.1 WAR. And that's very close. So Goldschmidt, by default on that, he wins. He did have a very tough last month. It dropped him below averages. He was competing for the first Triple Crown in like 98 years in National League. He also led the National League in slugging percentage and OPS. So
yeah, I would love to see Goldschmidt win. He's one of my favorite players.
Yeah,
he plays the game the right way. He gets after it. His teammates like him. He's a leader. Yes, he struggled big time in the last month of the season.
But I was talking about the Triple Crown Award all of a sudden. Yeah,
but he's just a guy that wants to just get in there and get his work done, right? But when you put together some incredible season, people are going to start asking you questions.
Sure.
And it happened to a little bit to Miguel Cabrera when he won the Triple Crown in the American League, but he stuck it out. He actually won the Triple Crown, which is incredible. Yeah, that's kind of it for our awards.
Yeah, I'm glad we can do this. I think we did it last year. I think we were pretty spot on last year. This year it's a little bit easier, I think. This year I think that American League and National League Rookie of the Year are pretty clear cut in my opinion. Manager of the Year is less clear cut. I think the Cy Youngs are pretty clear cut, and I think the MVPs are pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little bit easier to do.
Yeah. All right, Bods, any last-minute thoughts, comments, questions, concerns?
No, I think that, this marks the end of our Major League Baseball conversations. I think next steps will be talking about the hot stove and talking about the trade candidates and the free agent candidates. A lot of players have been opting out, i.e. Jake DeGrom and Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers, and these guys are, Nelson Cruz has opted out. So, how about this? Yesterday, November 7th, Trey Turner's agents sent a highlight reel narrated by John Hamm to every executive in Major League Baseball.
Really?
And the person who brought that to my attention said, I can't figure out which is funnier, the fact that their agents don't believe that everybody knows who Trey Turner is,
right?
Or that Don Draper is pitching him to Major League teams.
Why would you need to create a highlight reel for Trey Turner?
I don't know. He's the hottest. But you know what's funny is Carlos Correa opted out too, but Trey Turner's going to be a hotter commodity.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, both of those will be interesting.
Correa.
We'll
Correa kind of exposed himself, I think, a little bit. He he was on a less talented team.
Yeah, and he had a mediocre year. Yeah.
It's pretty significant. He's still good.
Still good shortstop. Yeah, of course he is.
He's not $35 million a year good.
Yeah, he wanted a lot of bags.
I'm not sure if it will be beneficial to his financial stature to opt out of the contract he's just opted out of, but he did it. So
it is what it is. He's making those choices. So we'll be back as consistent as possible to keep you updated.
We're doing interviews.
We're gonna try to do some guests. We're gonna keep talking about youth baseball. We're gonna keep talking about mental skills. We're gonna keep chiming in on MLB and all of this stuff. And so we're getting pretty consistent here. We have a good routine going on. We just finished our fall stuff. As this episode comes out, we have one more weekend.
Scrimmage, baby.
One more scrimmage, and so then we're working through that, developing our winter program, moving into the spring. So we'll talk you through all of that stuff, some of the new things we got developing, all of this good stuff here at Champions Adjust. Of course, you can buy merchandise at champsadjust.com. Listen to all future episodes on YouTube and previous episodes. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback for me and Coach Bods, hit us up. But other than that, I'm good. Bods, you good?
Good, man. My son just got home. I'm gonna go say hi to him.
Good. Well, thanks for everyone for watching and listening. Take good care of yourselves, and always remember that
Champions Adjust, baby!